Chaos, confusion and commotion. Seven days on, IndiGo still won't fly. Delhi IGI Airport sees baggage pile-up. Employee blames top brass for downfall. Aviation Minister says IndiGo responsible for fiasco. The IndiGo fiasco. That is our top focus on 5 Live.
Hi there, I'm Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor and this is 5 Live. Today on the program, we take a look at 2 top stories. One, if you were planning to fly anywhere domestically in the country within IndiGo, well, your future still looks pretty much uncertain. So what's the update there when it comes to IndiGo? And importantly, we try and peel out the causes to get to the heart of the matter. What exactly caused this crisis, and was it a manufactured one? What is the government doing about it? In the second half of the program today, we look at pollution like we have been for the past several months now. And we focus on a new study that talks about farm fires actually being manipulated. Also today, some 80, not 8, not 18, 80 Padma awarded doctors have now written an open letter urging the government to take some action. We'll bring you all those details. First up, let's take a look at what's the headline at this hour. Prime Minister Modi's ferocious Vande Namaste in Lok Sabha. Prime Minister Modi then attacked Nehru and Congress, says the first Vande partition happened, then India partition happened, says Congress has surrendered to Muslim League. Congress then rebutted Modi's Nehru Vande Tukde attack. Congress's big counter to Prime Minister's Vande Tukde attack says we gave national song status to Vande. Court acquits Malayalam actor Dilip of rape charges. Court has said that Malayalam actor Dilip not guilty. Dilip accused of abducting, raping an actor. He was let off, but 6 others who were accused have been found guilty. After over 500 IndiGo flights cancellation, Civil Aviation Minister now claims that IndiGo crisis erupted due to problems in rostering of the queue. Total IndiGo refunds have been about 827 crore. Crisis Management Group meets daily is his claim. But politics is snowballing over the IndiGo meltdown. Opposition consistently demanding answers from the Aviation Ministry, especially as the winter session is also underway in the backdrop. Congress MP Govt raised the matter in Lok Sabha, saying that due to IndiGo's monopoly, citizens are at the mercy of big corporate houses. Meanwhile, in Goa, the cops have summoned now senior government officials to join the nightclub fire probe over lapses and violations. 5 accused have been arrested. The owner, however, is still on the run. Vacation turned into nightmare. Remember, in Goa, Delhi family loses 4 members. Delhi resident Vinod saved his wife, but dies when he went back in to save the rest of his relatives. Romeo Lane's Delhi operation has received a show cause notice by MCD in Delhi in 2024. Violation mentioned by MCD against Romeo Lane's Civil Lines restaurant operations. The restaurant operation in Delhi was found to be exceeding the seating capacity as per the health trade license. The Madurai PAM controversy has escalated into a full-blown political showdown in Tamil Nadu. Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has lashed out at the protest demanding lighting of lamp on the hilltop pillar and the criticism of state for denying permission. A major revision has been made in the Social Sciences NCERT textbook. The focus is on Mahmood of Ghazni. The plunderer and the class 7 students will now be studying his invasions, including accounts of mass killings, civilian enslavement and the plunder of cities and temples in Mathura and Somnath. All right, it's day 7 of the aviation chaos and IndiGo is still in a free fall. India's biggest airline now remains paralyzed and the disruptions show no sign of easing, at least till the 15th of December is what we are hearing. Now today alone, over 500 cancellations took place. Delhi topped that list with 134 flights scrapped, followed by 127 in Bengaluru, 112 in Hyderabad, 71 in Chennai, 21 in Ahmedabad and 16 in Srinagar. IndiGo says it will run 1,800 flights today. An improvement, yes, but nowhere close to normalcy. At Delhi's IGI airport, let's bring you those visuals as well now. Piles of abandoned luggage still line the terminals. This even after the orders to return every misplaced bag was made by the government. And now the DGCA has given IndiGo a final 24 hours to explain the collapse. The Civil Aviation Ministry held another emergency review. It says that real-time checks are underway at major airports and airlines have been told to tighten operations immediately. The ministry's latest numbers show sheer scale of the crisis. Sample this. According to the ministry, 827 crore has already been refunded. 5.8 lakh PNRs were cancelled in December. 9.5 lakh cancelled since November 21st and 4,500 bags are still unreturned. IndiGo says it will fly to 137 of its 138 destinations today, but that does not account for nearly 500 cancellations still hitting passengers. 7 days in, this is now a full-blown aviation crisis, emergency, call it what you want. Passengers are stranded, holidays are derailed, trust has been shaken. And through it all, one core question remains unanswered. What triggered this meltdown? IndiGo has still not offered a clear explanation. And so today, the chaos continues. Another question is beginning to surface as well, one that goes beyond operational failure. Was this crisis simply a collapse, or was it something more deliberate? Some are now asking whether this disruption was engineered to pressure the government to resist or delay the proposed extended rest rules for pilots. Now, to be clear, there is no evidence yet to support those claims, but after a week of silence, cancellations and confusion, the questions are getting louder and IndiGo still owes the country some answers. Meanwhile, some answers were found, particularly to the question on what exactly happened. How did this crisis actually came about? Now, while the world speculates, a long-time employee of the airline IndiGo has revealed it all in an open letter. He talks about how the airline really operates behind the scenes, how the pilots and the staff saw this fiasco coming way before anybody else did, and importantly, who all are responsible. The letter names at least 8 senior officials, including the CEO, and it details years of neglect. The letter also paints a very grim picture. Years of mismanagement, employee exploitation, repeated warnings about safety risks and pilot fatigue ignored by the airline's entire top brass. Take a look at what this letter says.
I am writing this not as a spokesperson, not as someone hiding behind corporate language, but as an IndiGo employee who has lived through every shift, every sleepless night, every humiliation, every squeezed paycheck, and every impossible roster. And I'm writing this as an Indian because the state of this airline is no longer just an internal issue. It affects millions of people in this country. I need you to hear this from someone who has been inside long enough to understand how we reached this breaking point. Nothing happened overnight. We all saw it coming. IndiGo did not collapse in a day. This downfall was years in the making. Pilots raised concerns about fatigue and unsafe duty timings. Instead of being heard, some were called to the head office, intimidated, shouted at, and humiliated. No consequences, no accountability, just fear. Cabin crew facing passengers with a smile while crying in the gallery. Cabin crew facing passengers with a smile while crying in the galley. And the messaging from the top, you are lucky to have a job. Or worse, beggars can't be choosers. How do you expect us to serve the nation when we ourselves are broken? When employees feel exploited, unvalued, and exhausted, how do you think they can give you the service you deserve? IndiGo grew, but the people who fly the planes, repair the planes, and handle the planes, we were left behind. And now the world laughs at us. It hurts because it's not the Indian workforce failing you. It's the management, mostly foreigners. My appeal, as a colleague, as a citizen, as a human being. We don't need damage control videos. We don't need PR apologies. We need action. I'm writing this because I refuse to stay silent anymore. And being an insider, I'll call names. It starts with Peter Elbers, who was holidaying at his native Netherlands when this wildfire happened. Isidore Porcuras, who hails from land of senoritas, and no one has a clue what he's doing here. Jason Herter from land of Yankees, whose arrival in IndiGo started the downfall in employees and employer relationship 8 years back. Aditi Kumar, who has made OCC a mess by doing planning on minimum rest for pilots and cabin crew. Rahul Patil, who cannot even draft an email but very good at intimidating and abusing fellow pilots. Tapas Dey, who has the audacity to say to his colleagues that beggars can't be choosers. If IndiGo truly wants to rise again, it must first look inwards, at the tired, overworked human beings who keep its aircrafts in the sky. We deserve better. And so do you, the citizens who trust us with your time, money, and safety.
All right, some updates coming in on that story. Let's take a look at that. IndiGo has now less than an hour to reply to the government on what exactly happened. 6 p.m. is the deadline for IndiGo CEO to reply to all the questions which have been asked by the Ministry of Civil Aviation. The extended deadline for IndiGo ends at 6 p.m. today. So let's really wait and see what they have to say. But I have my colleague Amit Bharadwaj joining us now to take us through all those details. Amit, what exactly is IndiGo expected to say in their reply when their employees, their current employees, have only outed the entire top management?
The questions asked from IndiGo are quite tough, and the problems will only further increase from here. And I'm saying that on the basis of the conversations and the kind of emotion that's going on within the Ministry of Civil Aviation. It's making pretty evident that stringent action is on the cards for IndiGo management. And not only the CEO of IndiGo, Peter Elbers, but also the COO of IndiGo has been sent the show cause notice, and both of them had sought an extension of 24 hours, which is the deadline they set it for themselves today. So by 6 p.m., the IndiGo CEO and the COO, the Chief Operating Officer, will have to respond to the show cause notice, in which it was particularly said by the FSD Director of Operations, R.S. Jamwal, that on prima facie, it looks like IndiGo not complied with the norms and the rules that were set for every airline in India. And Ram Mohan Naidu, the Minister of Civil Aviation, had very particularly told me that, look, the problem did not happen with SpiceJet, it didn't happen with Air India, it didn't happen with Akasa. It happened only with IndiGo, and it was enormous to the extent that entire airport infrastructure of India was turned into worse than a bus stand. Back to you,
Yes.
Sonal.
Amit, you know, the thing is, extension seems to be the favorite word and the favorite play for IndiGo. They first want extensions on rest rules, now they want extensions for reply. This has been 7 days going. How is the government being so lenient with IndiGo? I really want to understand. And what happens if they fail to reply by 6 p.m. today?
This is a question I'd asked Ram Mohan Naidu, the Minister of Civil Aviation, very directly. That did you succumb to the pressure of IndiGo in this particular context, because they are the largest player when it comes to domestic aviation infrastructure, private domestic aviation infrastructure. He said, no, our priority is passengers, and that is why we did give abeyance till February on certain conditions to IndiGo, because we wanted the students, the flyers, those tourists to fly back to their destinations, and there was no other option but to bring back the entire infrastructure into place. We'll have to see what kind of response comes from the CEO and CEO of IndiGo, and henceforth the action which is on the cards. Back to you.
All right, Amit, thanks so much for those updates. We'll come back to you at 6 to really understand what exactly is it that IndiGo has decided to tell the government finally. But there are some more updates. Let's take a look at that. This one coming in over the backlash that IndiGo seems to be now getting from the Moody's agency. Now, Moody's has now slammed IndiGo for the mess. The rating agency says IndiGo's credit negative now. It also goes on to say that IndiGo failed to plan the air operations. The rating agency also goes on to say the lapses in IndiGo planning altogether. It also highlights the oversight that was undergone by the ministry. IndiGo knew rules for a year, but they still did not act. And exactly the question that all of us are asking here as well. All right, so let's quickly, those are the updates coming in at this hour. Let's quickly check if our guests are patched in and we can sort of cut across to them and understand the story a little more in detail about what exactly is happening at IndiGo. All right, that's the big story over here, but the IndiGo airline has been a mess. What is happening today? They have operated almost all destinations today after 7 days of the fiasco, but not all flights are running. There are still thousands of cancellations that are taking place, and anybody who has a flight at the moment has been advised to pre-check and understand whether or not the takeoff will take place, because even the communication online, that the messages that you get from airlines, especially like IndiGo, has been an absolute collapse. Okay, joining me next is Joseph. He is the lawyer for the Federation of Indian Pilots. Joseph, we've been looking at the story very closely. In fact, all Friday I spent a good time at the Delhi airport to actually understand what was happening there. And these visuals that you see seem to be a recurring theme. Inside the airport was a boiling pot. People were angry because these were the people who had no idea, and they were stuck because their luggage was there, their kids were crying, they had no idea or communication coming in. Outside the airport, there was another degree of chaos. But my question to you is pretty plain and simple. When you have a notification from the government which is in the interest of the pilots, interest of the flyers as well, the only person or the only category it does not benefit is the flight's profiteering, right? Apart from the top management, it is in the good of everybody else, right? And when it's 1 year in coming, is it possible that they will end up not having any flights? Like, in your mind, is that possible? Is that kind of breakdown or meltdown, as we've been calling it, possible to have just erupted on its own, or is this orchestrated?
You know, my personal opinion is this, that this is an issue which has been 2 years in the coming, because, you know, the first notification was released on 22nd of November, 2023. At that stage, they took time. And, you know, the Minister of Civil Aviation, the then Ms. Jyotiraditya Scindia, had announced this notification via Twitter on 3rd of January 24. So all the airlines were aware of it as early as 3rd of January 24. And the 8th of January 24 was when this car or the civil aviation requirement was released with a date of 1st of June 2024. So this is definitely 18 months prior when the notification was to be done. The airlines fought it tooth and nail, and IndiGo was fighting it tooth and nail from implementing it from 1st of June 24 as per the 8th January 24 notification. Now, they very well knew what was coming. They could have kept their house in order. They failed to do it, and they even have not done it till now, 18 months. This is a slap on the face of the government. This is exactly what a private airline, and not a small one at that, the largest, holding a sharehold, with passenger share of more than 60% of the shares.
Yeah.
Now, for a company like IndiGo to circumvent the laws, okay, a law which has not been not which has come over a 2 or 3 month period, but has been over 2 years in the making, and over 20 hearings in before the Delhi High Court. There were over 20 hearings on this very matter before the Delhi High Court. And finally, and there was a consent order passed pursuant to which this car came to be notified. When I mean car, the civil aviation requirement came to be notified. On 26th of March 2024, the first date was deferred. They fought it thereafter for a year thereafter in the High Court of Delhi. Thereafter, the court gave up, and court gave them an ultimatum on, if I'm not mistaken, on 23rd of January 25, specifically saying that no further time will be granted for the implementation of the car. And on 23rd or more specifically on 7th of April 2025, the court said enough is enough. This is for the safety of the passengers. It is for the safety of the pilots. We cannot have fatigued pilots flying aircrafts. So let us look at it from a holistic perspective. And then the court, in consultation with all other airlines, and there were 4 meetings which the court organized between the DGCA and the airline companies. And it was only after the 4 meetings were held that it was the current date, the first notification of 1st of July 2025 was notified.
Got it.
The airlines complied with it till 1st of July 2025.
Mr. Joseph, what you're essentially saying is that extension after extension was either taken by IndiGo, or what you're also suggesting is that they have practically arm twisted the government by the sheer power of airline control that they have. 60% of the skies are with them, basically. Then they have simply arm twisted the government into listening to them. But I want to get to a slightly more deeper question, and Captain CS Randhawa, who's the president for Federation of Indian Pilots, is also here with us. Captain Randhawa, I want to understand this from you. When rostering is done, is it possible that because of crunch of enough pilots, you will have no flights operate? Like, I get it. We also do rostering in our own system for anchors, for producers, etc. When you struggle with rostering, you struggle with, say, 10 flights, 20 flights, maybe 100 flights, 200 flights. How is it that IndiGo could not operate any flight? What really baffled me that day was that no flight took off from Delhi, no flight took off from Mumbai, and there were so many such clusters. How is that even possible?
Day one, that is from the 2nd of December, the FIP has been clearly voicing its opinion and saying it is not weather, it is not ATC congestion, it is not FDTL CR, it is not crew shortage, it is because it is pre-planned. It was pre-planned that they had to do a integration of the network planning software with the optimization of the crew utilization, because they were given 150 flights per day extra in the winter schedule. So everything had to be integrated. Now, how can you have all the aircraft on the ground, all the pilots available, all the cabin crew available, and yet no flight taking off? And the CEO has gone on record on the 5th, he said it was pre-planned. That means they had planned from 2nd of December, and did not communicate either to the DGCA or to the passengers and created a crisis around the country. They need to be, the senior management of IndiGo Airlines needs to be criminally prosecuted and fined for thousands of crores. They cannot take the people and the citizens of the country at ransom. And on the contrary, they have been given a clean sheet not to adhere to the safety norms of the pilots, as if the safety norms are not applicable to 5,800 to 6,000 pilots of IndiGo. So it is total rubbish what has happened, and the way the government has handled. I'm shocked that when there is a problem, analyze the problem. At least we are the subject matter experts. We've been saying from 2nd of December that there'll be no flight cancellation even after the second phase of the CR was implemented on 1st November. Then I went on record and even said that when the software modification on the Airbus 320 aircraft, 200 aircraft of IndiGo happened on 29th, no flight was cancelled. There were some delays.
Yeah.
But nothing happened on 1st of December. Second, a bomb exploded and everything started crumbling. And now also, if you see, a lot of flights are getting cancelled. You tell me one thing. On Friday, the minister rolled back the FDTL CR.
That's what they
for
wanted.
which all the IndiGo pilots are extremely unhappy about it. As they are not human beings. Are they not human beings? And why all the other airlines are maintaining it? And thirdly, this is not the cause.
And it's not, and I think people don't understand it. It's not about IndiGo pilots wanting rest. This is not a peculiar demand. This is the global standard that exists everywhere across the world. This is also a guideline. The rest period of 48 hours is what exists for all other airlines as well. Except Air India, and correct me if I'm wrong there, Joseph, except Air India, which is also sort of an extension, it exists for all other airlines. And at the end of the day, the pilot is not asking for rest to go and chill somewhere. They are asking for rest so that they are not fatigued. And your and my life is in the proper hands of a person who has a functioning brain, who's well rested and is able to do the job properly. That's what this entire story is about. But I have last few minutes and I want to give that to Joseph to understand this. Joseph, the pilots clearly don't agree. They don't have much to do at this point, and that open letter said it all, that they've been told that beggars are not choosers. You know, it's my way or the highway, or the flyway, if you can call it that in the case of IndiGo. It's either IndiGo or you can look for a job. They've been told very clearly. The peculiar part in this is the government's sort of lukewarm response, won't you say?
Correct. Yeah, that's one of the other peculiar parts. But then the issue is this, that here is an airline which has got away with murder every time, and they always benefit. When the prices go up, despite the fact that they don't fly airlines, they still earn money, because what you're talking of prices in the range of 45,000 for a flight between Delhi to Jaipur. You're talking of 1 lakh for a flight from Delhi to Mumbai. The airline is anyway making the money. So they are not at any loss because of all of these cases. According to me, this is an orchestrated campaign. I mean, they very well knew what it was, because they are arguing this matter in court. They were well aware for over the past 2 years. And these are petitions filed by pilots in 2023. And at that point of time, very well, everybody knew that this was likely to come. The aviation minister announced it on 3rd of January 2024. That we are talking of nearly 19 months prior to this period. They very well knew what was happening. So if they very well taken the DGCA so lightly, they better well pay for it. And look at people who couldn't attend
Will
their own
IndiGo
marriages.
pay for it? I think that's the big question, because I don't think there is any doubt left over how this entire thing was orchestrated. It's pretty much out in the open. Everybody, including Moody's, has now called them out. But will IndiGo finally pay a price for causing this entire mess? Well, that's the question that we have to ask the government as well. For the moment, I have to thank Joseph and Captain Randhawa for joining us here on the program. As the air in the country remains dangerously toxic, tonight comes an extraordinary alarm. 80. I don't mean 8, I don't mean 18, I mean 8080. Padma and Padma Bhushan awardee doctors, some of India's most respected medical voices, have issued an urgent national advisory saying India's air pollution crisis has now crossed into a public health emergency. These are frontline clinicians. They are warning that the toxic air choking Delhi, NCR, Mumbai, and 60% of the country is now affecting every age group. But children, pregnant women, seniors, and heart-lung patients are getting hit the hardest. And the risks that outline are dangerous. Worsening cough, eye irritation, asthma attacks, rising chances of hair attacks, of heart attacks, strokes, long-term, even irreversible lung damage in children. They also warn that polluted air is making diabetes and hypertension harder to control. Now, in this rare, clear-cut advisory, the Padma doctors have laid out exactly what families must do now. And two of those, the finest Padma Bhushan doctors join us here on the program today, and we'll try and understand some of those details from them. With me today is Dr. Amrish Mittal, Group Chairman, Endocrinology and Diabetes at Max Healthcare, Delhi. Also with me is Dr. Ashok Seth, Chairman at Fortis Escorts Health Institute and Fortis Healthcare Medical Council. Dr. Mittal, first to you. We've done endless episodes this month, this year, over the years, talking constantly about air pollution. But what you are telling us and what 80 doctors like you, the finest we have in the country, are telling us is that the situation is only getting worse. Is that fair to conclude?
It's certainly not getting better, Sonal. If anything, it's getting worse. And despite so many alarms raised over the last 10, 15 years, we haven't really seen any discernible improvement in air quality. And the studies that we are doing or others are doing and we are publishing and others are publishing are largely related to the adverse effects of pollution, which makes you feel even worse because you really realize, you begin to realize that it's not just the heart and the lungs. So many parts of our body are affected by this air pollution, and we seem to be going nowhere actually. We are just going round and round and round, and that's the tragedy,
Yeah, we're doing round and round, just like there's like the water sprinkling systems that's going on and on, just like how that data is being manipulated. Also, the data on farm fires being manipulated. We look at that. Dr. Ashok Seth, does it frustrate you as much as it frustrates us here reporting that over the years nothing seems to have changed, it's only gotten worse? And does it frustrate you with a similar degree when you see Parliament not taking an issue like this on priority? Parliament is not on a break. Parliament is meeting in the same toxic air. They are breathing the same toxic air. Or as some people told me on my Twitter feed the other day, that maybe there are air purifiers inside and that's why they don't care.
Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
It's the word is not frustrating. The word is annoying, anger. This is really a situation where, we talk about seasonal pollution. We talk about it only during this month. Believe you me, what we emphasize to all policymakers and to the nation is the fact that throughout the year, we live in a gas chamber.
Yeah.
It's not a seasonal issue. This is what's spoiling our health. This is practically what's ruining we talk about strokes increasing, we talk about diabetes going out of control, we talk about bad lungs, people dying of heart attacks, people dying of lung problems. Can you believe a third of our population is dying because of the pollution itself? And then we talk about it in such light manner that acha is October, November mein to kharab ho jata hai. But actually, it's a right. It is a human right to breathe fresh air and have clean water, correct? Where did we ever hear that this was not a human right? And yet, the saddest part, the anger, is related to we cannot be provided with fresh, clean air. We would love for all our children to be coming back to India and living here, except each one of our children, some of whose children are out, say, कि हम किस पे आए? We love India. I think everything in India is great. But हमारे बच्चे कैसे उसमें पैदा होंगे जिसमें कि वो सांस भी नहीं ले सकेंगे, and they may not even grow up, उनके genes ही खराब हो जाएंगे. You know that this air actually creates not just the problems of khasi, zardi, zukam, etc. that we're talking about apart from strokes, etc. It causes genetic changes. It actually causes cancer. It causes brain fogs. It actually causes clear dementia. So we just don't talk about कि खांसी सर्दी जुकाम हो गया और उसको उससे बचना है. It's
It's
it's a
just,
killer. It's actually a
yeah.
killer. And we just don't seem to be seeing this killer. And then we talk about all sorts of health statistics saying हमारा हिंदुस्तान तो statistics देखिए कितने अच्छे statistics हैं. I'm amazed. Sometimes it's so actually the reason we wrote all this was not the anger, but was the realization. At some stage, realization has to come that you could list down 200 diseases it causes, the pollution is causing, and also the massive increase in deaths that have resulted in the last 10 to 15 years, strokes, diabetes, hypertension, and heart attacks, as well
One
as
second, you're
dementia
saying
in this country.
200 diseases that have a direct link
Direct-
with air pollution.
absolutely,
And one
absolutely.
third of the deaths are due to air pollution. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely, absolutely. 1/3 of all the respiratory deaths. We're talking about 1.7 million air pollution deaths. Well, that could be a lot more, but 1/3 of all deaths from chest problems is happening because of direct effect of the pollution on those people. There's an increase, can you believe, of 200% in heart attacks and deaths from heart attack when it goes to this level of hazardous. But what about what's happened over 15 years of the increase in heart attacks in youth that we call about saying lifestyle? And can you believe the lifestyle got created by this country, jahan pe ki pollution has created the worst lifestyle, and not necessarily the youth. The youth is suffering from the pollution far more than the lifestyle of saying galat kha liya ya exercise nahi ki. Today, when my patients ask me ki exercise kahan kare, kya kare, kaise kare, I have no words to say. I can't tell them to go out in that weather, in that pollution, and say, usme aap exercise kijiye. Perhaps he may not even survive the length of the duration of survival that he has in his. And this is like smoking 40 cigarettes a day.
Dr. Mittal, the frustration, I don't know. I don't know how people sleep, people who have the power to do something and not doing anything sleep with themselves. I don't know how they get sleep at night knowing that this is a slow poison that has been infused upon us. And this is not Delhi, like Dr. Seth was saying. This is not winter. This is 60% of the country. Just imagine the impact it will have and the load of patients that the medical infrastructure will be facing in the coming generations as well. But, you know, like I said, we could go on about it, but I want to talk solutions now, because if the government is not doing anything, what is it that we can do? Dr. Mittal, you guys have put together an excellent list. Could you take us through that, apart from the obvious ones that we know, which is wear an N95 or N99 mask, have air purification, HEPA filter 13 or above, have your purification done in the cars as well, because that's where maximum vehicular pollution is coming in. People are stuck for 2 hours in a traffic and they don't even realize what that staying in the car is doing to them. Ensure that kids are not playing out. Even if the sun is glaring and you think, aaj to hawa saaf lag rahi hai, par hai nahi, or AQI is still saying 300.
So I think, Sonal, there are several aspects to this. You've listed out what people as individuals can do, but there's only this much they can do. I mean, how can you live in an environment totally controlled by air purifiers and the HEPA filters? I mean, that's not possible. And for large segments of the population, even talking about that seems a little, ironic. I mean, it's really not correct to talk about those solutions.
It's a privilege.
Yes, it is a privilege. We can talk about it, but most of our people cannot. So I think it's really important that there are, and everyone realizes, anyone with any sense realizes there is no quick fix to this. We don't think anyone has a magic wand it'll just sort of wish away all the stuff we're talking about. But we need to have a structured plan. We need to have a structured plan that is evident to the public. We need to know what is happening now, this year, what is the change, next year, what will be the change, the year after that, what will be the change, so that over a period of a few years, we can implement major changes. Like Beijing did.
Yes,
like Beijing
yes.
just was the worst city in the world and became completely clean. Of course, people say in China it's easier to implement things, but the fact is that we do need to go in that direction. We can't keep, sort of passing it on to the next person all the time. So this has really become a big problem. And as Dr. Seth very rightly said, the issue of it being there around the year, and an acceptance of levels which are clearly 2 or 3-fold higher than WHO recommendation. And in these times, there are 10,
Dr. Mittal,
20.
can I ask you a question? And I've been trying to wrap this around my head as well. When doctors are saying, please do something, we are reporting and saying, please do something. Doctors are getting desperate enough to say, leave the city if you have to. Why do you think the politicians have not woken up? They're not even recognizing it as a problem. They're allowing green crackers and the rest of it to happen. I'm sure you meet so many politicians who come to you. They are your patients. When you talk to them, what's the reply? What do they tell you?
No, I don't think it's that they don't realize. I mean, I really do think that they very well realize. They're all living in this. It's not happening in some remote part of the country. I think our politicians or bureaucrats or whoever is in charge, they definitely realize the problems. I think there's need for a concerted, a coordinated response, which somewhere is not really happening, and a long-term response. The issue is not a short-term, spraying of this or that. It's actually a long-term response, a plan that we need to see to really help, because
I have last 1 minute and I have Dr. Seth's finger going up. So very quickly, sir.
So I think the realization is there, and it's increasingly, and in fact, these are the sort of realizations, the sort of programs that you've been doing, the sort of letter that we've written, but there's a realization. I tell you, in the past, this actually has been a blame game politics. It's actually now coming to a realization where it does need to become a national agenda of every policymaker, of every politician, and for that matter, for every individual in this country, that kis tarah hum pollution ko kam kare. It should be the first thing which everybody should wake up with, and actually should be the last thing we say, ab aaj kya ho sakta hai. Now, the policymakers can do better than that. We, in our own, can do daily something which can help. But the policymakers need to make an agenda as a national agenda saying, ye to hamari emergency situation hai.
But why aren't they? I'm really trying to understand why they don't get something as simple as this. You have the Padma awardees, you have the best doctors in the country, doctors who treat these politicians as well, telling them, please wake up. And still, well, we're debating 10 hours of Vande Mataram, we're debating 10 hours of some other bill, but there is 0 hour taken out for air pollution inside the parliament. And that for me is very, very troubling. And we really hope that the letters that all of you have written, at least that rings a bell, if nothing else. Thank you so much for doing what you guys are doing. And thank you so much for keeping the fight for demanding clean air going on. But we're not done with pollution just yet. Look at the next story. Now, amid the debate over whether or not farm fires are the major cause of air pollution in North India, a new study has now revealed that India's stubble burning is worse than the officially suggested data. Remember, we covered this a couple of weeks ago. The national monitoring systems using NASA's MODIS and VIRS satellites only tracks fire during the midday. But most farm fires are now occurring after 3 p.m., meaning hundreds of large farm fires are still happening, but the satellite somehow doesn't capture it. Now, is this happening by design? I'm sure you're wondering. Well, perhaps yes. In Punjab and Haryana, over 90% of large fires happen after 3 p.m., yet the official count now shows a dramatic reduction, much higher than the reality. Burnt area mapping confirmation now says a smaller drop of just 25 to 35%, not the over 90% as we've been reporting on numbers. And I have to say, one of the first people who actually got it to light has been iForest, and I have the head of that organization with me here today, Chandra Bhushan, CEO of International Forum for Environment, Sustainability and Technology. iForest is here with us. Chandra Bhushan, last time I threw some data at you and you threw it back at me saying that, well, the reality is very different. Today, you've got evidence to actually say that indeed it is. So kudos to you to having done that, but help me understand, how does a farmer who is struggling to understand when it'll rain, when should he sow his seeds, when there will be flooding, is sort of not getting a hang of any clues weather-wise, but knows where the satellite goes? Like, I'm trying to piece that together. So what is this? Is there a nexus? Or how does a farmer on the ground in Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, whatever state you want to take, how do they even know that the satellite is going to pass at this time?
First of all, thank you, Sonal, for inviting me again. In the last show, I had partial information, which I gave it to you and to your viewers. It was quite clear to us over the last 2 months, and we have been tracking this data every day from a geostationary satellite, that about the timing of farm fire. Every day, we have been downloading data, and the data, there's a time lag of about a week.
Geostationary, explain that to my viewers. It basically means it's
Okay,
not
so-
moving,
Yes, it is
it's
focused.
logged
It is
into one.
permanently
It's focused.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, it is focused. It gives you data every 15 minutes.
Okay.
Our current monitoring is based on polar satellite, which overpasses India at a fixed time. So we have MODIS, which passes over 10:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. And we have something called as VIIRS, which passes at 1:30 p.m. So in 24 hours, we only have view of about 3 hours. So the satellite that is used to measure farm fire only has visibility during a window of 3 hours. 21 hour, we have nothing is, we have nothing to see what is happening on the ground. And therefore, in the last show, I said that number of farm fire is a bad indicator of what is happening on the ground. And this time we, our entire analysis with geostationary satellite as well as with Sentinel-2.
But can you answer that? How do they know? I get it. This data manipulation has been reported. We understand. How do they know?
I have no idea how do they know it, but my team was on the ground in Punjab and Haryana. And it so happens that farmers have been made aware about the timing of overpass of satellite.
Farmers have been made aware. Guess who is making them aware? It has to be those who
But
know
there is a
about
good
this,
news,
and it has
Sonal.
to be...
The bad news is that our monitoring system is flawed. The good news is that burnt area has reduced by about 30%. So something good is happening on the ground. It is not that everything bad is happening. Since 2019, from a peak of about 30,000 square kilometer of burnt area. Think about that. Listen to the number. 30,000 square kilometer of burnt area in 2021. We are down to 20,000 square kilometer in Punjab. And in Haryana, about 8,000 square kilometer. So something is working. We need to take courage from that and intensify our effort, because if we do that, we will be able to reduce stubble burning significantly.
All right. On that little piece of positive information that we can take out of this pollution segment, we leave it there. Thank you so much, Chandrabhushan, for joining us and sharing all those details. That's all we got back in 5 Live. Tell us how you are tackling air pollution. Send us your comments. We'll take it up on the program. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.